I'm seeing so many articles now on weaponized memetics that people seem to finally understand what we've been talking about for 20 years, which is that there are memes out there, always out there, competing for our attention and to get us to spread them. Why do you think it's taken people so long to grok the meme?
So I think that this is the time when, the proverbial stuff, hits the fan, right? So suddenly, stuff that was not seen, suddenly it's seen. Like something was not visible, now it's visible, right? We talked about it for 20 years, that these are the invisible stuff out there in the air, like all over the place. Don't you guys see it? And now it actually started to affect global politics. You guys have a meme for a president now. So I think that there is a tidal wave that has been growing, maybe for a few tens of thousands of years.
Right. So for people that aren't too familiar with memes, I remember in the 90s after I'd written Media Virus and then a bunch of essays on memes, I was at Timothy Leary's house doing a radio interview from his phone. And he's sitting there, then listening to me talk, and he had always been telling me not to use the word meme because no one knows what a meme is.
Exactly.
And he heard me on the radio interview have to explain what a meme is. And he starts laughing at me and pointing at me to say, and we get off and he says, any word that you have to explain what it means every time you use it is a useless word.
And that's how I felt for the past 15 years. And I realized that when I started my company around memes in 2003, using the word meme didn't make it more accessible. It made it more, opaque and less understandable. But, for us, it was so important that we actually use the meme's eye view, which is a very important concept that we talk about, that for us, the meme was the water that we swam in, right? But exactly, up to basically, I think, 2016, you really had to explain what a meme is.
And for now, how are you explaining a meme? A meme is an idea that wants to be replicated? How do you talk about a meme?
With the potential to spread. Yeah, an idea with the potential to spread. I really like which I just read it recently in an article, that the memes are the IED of culture. And for me, that really sort of summarized... Improvised explosive device that people by hand and, by whatever you find, in your basement, you put together, put it out there. 99% of the time, nothing happens. And 1% of the time, it blows up the whole building, right?
Right. And now a meme is not just a picture on Instagram with words on the bottom. It's not just a picture of Donald Trump yawning and someone putting the word cat under it.
No, it's basically thoughts and ideas in our minds. And I do a lot of work with the unconscious these past 2 years, and basically I do meme research now in the unconscious, and I found that we have archetypes, and the archetypes hold the memes in our heads, in our mind. If you go and take people to trance and start a conversation around certain ideas, you can access their ego parts. Gestalt work does this in regular consciousness. It's so much more powerful if you go under into to the subconscious. And then you have these archetype of a father or a mother or a grandmother or any other a friend or relative or even very outwardly creatures, and they hold memes. Like they somehow get memes in your mind, and those memes that they have work as magnets for other memes, right? So if you have the archetype, let's say the hero, or you have the archetype of the victim archetypes just brings in all the memes that are great for the expression of the victim archetype. So this is how the mind works in the subconscious, and this is pretty much how something similar works in the cultural territory, where memes are attract each other. They are sort of creating a filter bubble, and suddenly you have a meme filter around you that you're watching your world with, and you just attract all the other memes that are, that wants to be in your meme filter. So that's the main, one of the most important ideas I think around meme is that they are your filter to reality, and they are an evolving filter because they attract new memes. So your filter is always changing, always evolving.
And then once we move into a digital space, an interactive space, which originally might have been fax machines, but now is Twitter and Facebook and beyond, memes take on a slightly different quality. And not just in that they're spreading, but, the internet itself, as many of us argued from the early days, the internet is kind of more fact-based. It's more of a nonfiction medium than like movies. People are not involved in these giant fictional experiences. They're having factoid fact-based experiences. And I call them factoid because the facts don't have to be true. It's more like a gossip, though, or tidbits
Truthiness.
or things. Truthiness. But it's not, truthiness still almost comes from it almost describes the perspective of the propagandist or the disinformant. And it's not that. It's that, I used to say this to marketers all the time, no one on the internet cares about the Keebler elves. They care if there's a rat hair on the Keebler elf cookie. And because the rat, and believe me if you have a truthful meme that we've changed the color of the hats on the Keebler elves, it's not going to spread. If I make a fake meme picture of a rat hair on a Keebler cookie, I promise you I could get thousands of shares of that false thing. So when people are so confused now about fake news and real news and false news, it's like the fake or realness doesn't matter. It's the memes themselves don't really have a truthiness index determining their spread or not.
Exactly, and just a side note on fake news, I think the problem with fake news is that those people are complaining who used to have an institution of fake news, right? Just because you're CBS in the 1960s, it's still fake news, right? It's just your news.
It's not as fake.
Like, that's your point of view, man. Like, people in that other country, like your country invaded, they would probably think it's fake news, right? So it's like, it's just a point of view, right?
Yeah, but you can't, or maybe you are, but I don't think you can make an equivalency between the truth level of a BBC researched, something that's based on, journalistic discipline and second sources and deciding what's true and what's not versus a kid in his basement deciding, that Pepe the Frog is the Messiah.
My name is Margaret, and I'd like to invite you to join me in an ongoing series entitled Praise Keck, which hopes to fully explain the way in which meme magic from the ancient world has been brought back to life by modern internet users who only wish to remain anonymous, with all glory going to the frog. Current scholars believe that the god Keck cleaved time itself, saving us, his chosen people, to live in the timeline where Trump wins the election, known affectionately as the Berenstein universe, after the cultural artifact of the beloved children's books which definitively prove the double standard theory.
I love it that you still defend humans against the memes, and I love it. You're on Team Human, right? Awesome. I'm on Team Meme, but
You're on Team Human. No, but there's two different things at play here.
Yeah.
Something's virulence as a memetic construct. Its spread may have nothing to do with its level of truth, but there is still an objective reality that we can attempt to communicate or attempt to obfuscate.
Exactly.
So when, Donald Trump says, I know that Obama was tapping my phones, I get there's a level of truth to it in that if Obama's agency, which even though he doesn't run it, say the NSA, was tapping a phone of a Russian and Trump happened to be speaking to that Russian, then your phone call was tapped.
Exactly.
It wasn't that the president was tapping your phone, but I get how you,
Exactly.
in your constellation of the universe, why you perceive it.
And
that
those little tappings can lead to wonderful things.
I know, and now when you've got, your Samsung televisions listening into you and your neighbors and everybody else, my God, what's going to get heard? Once they get better at computerized scanning of all the files for word choice and
of course Facebook is scanning the words that you put in and then delete before you actually post something, right? Fun fact.
So now, we know that Trump's followers, if not Trump himself, was much more willing to engage with memetics than the Clinton side, which was still stuck in traditional opposition research and traditional narrative and character. Why do you think that they were so much more ready and willing to play with this almost occult-like memetic sensibility?
I think they were the IED people, right? So they basically just grabbed onto anything that
because they were more like the independents without the money, without any
resources, give us the least costing resources, right? And then the whole idea of memetic evolution was at core of the whole Trump campaign, right? So they understood what we've been preaching for the last 20 years, that you're not able to be a meme master. Only memes can spread that are at that moment are able to spread because they can actually get into the stream on the top of the wave. So what you actually need to do is you have to figure out the general direction of the evolution that you want the evolution to take, and then in that general direction start to produce multiple, thousands of memes, right? And then when you see which ones are actually evolving, then put some evolutionary energy, in this case money, behind it. So the whole idea is they basically, I think, got to the point when they realized that it's really not about them. And that's the whole structure of the memes that people have to understand, that it's really not about the humans, it's about the meme. Even if it's in our own mind. So that's why people are confused about it, like, okay, how do I have this creature in my own mind that has its own agenda? And it has. The agenda is to spread and to take over more minds.